Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. It's your host, Bridget. We have a little special guest here today, the baby. This is Aidan, and he's asleep. So we're going to see how far we can get into this with him sleeping. If you are new to our show, we are helping small business owners, entrepreneurs put their business and brand on the map. And what does that really mean? We do that through the lens of public relations. So today I'm going to go over what is public relations and just some really simple strategies to actually help you do that. Now, many of you have listened to this show or watched the channel for a while, and this is not necessarily new information. But as someone who's been a yoga teacher and a yoga practitioner for almost a decade, maybe more, I've learned that repetition is one of the greatest things. And it's actually how we learn as humans, right? If you think back to when you were in primary school, repetition is how you learn. They were drilling things into the mind, and that is what taught you certain things about yourself, about life, about different skills, all of that. So, put your brand on the map made easy. Here we go. So, if you're new here, my name is Bridget. I am from New Jersey. I still live here. My business partner is named Lydia, and she's here on the screen on the left. I'm on the right, obviously. And we run a company called Visibility on Purpose. We not only love to talk about PR and media and getting small business owners out there through the lens of public relations and podcasts and media features and doing that all for free without being a celebrity, anything like that. But we also love to have fun in our actual daily lives. So the newest thing for me in my life is I'm a mom. I just had this little boy not too long ago, so he will be here with us on the channel as I navigate being a new mom and also a business owner, which is really exciting. And we're just figuring out how it's going to work every single day. I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor, so I've been teaching since 2017. So a decent amount of time. I love my students, and that's one thing I'm like putting a pause on a little bit in my personal life. I also have my real estate license with my husband. I am a certified herbalist, although I'm still very much learning all of that. And it's so funny. I rode distance trail runner. When I was pregnant, I have not been doing any running at all, but that's a little bit about me. Okay, so let's go into the nitty-gritty today. What is PR? Public relations. That is PR. It is not a press release. I think some people think PR is a press release. PR stands for public relations, and it's all about how the public perceives your brand. It's all about generating a positive buzz, building a positive brand image, and really educating people on what your company does. Now, large companies have public relations branches of their company, right? So those people are in charge with getting the word out, spreading the word. And it's not just on your own platforms, because that can kind of go into marketing and social media, although all of them are connected. But you can really think about leveraging other audiences and other platforms. So I wrote here that companies use PR to educate people and build a positive brand image about brands through media features in a variety of outlets like magazines, podcasts, TV segments, radio, and they appear organic. That's important. And that's what's different than like advertising. So if you are a small business owner, you might have some money set aside for ads, right? Facebook ads, Google ads, maybe even like magazine ads. There are ads in Facebook groups these days. You could pay to post something. That's an advertisement. Now, public relations is like a third party endorsement, but it appears organic because you are actually just leveraging your expertise, your thought leadership, you're sharing your product, and you are helping basically the media world come together to produce content. Now, it's important because owned and earned media versus paid media is a huge thing. So, as I mentioned, advertising is more of a paid media thing. Raise your hand if you've gotten that DM on Instagram that's like, hey, you'd be perfect for X, Y, and Z, publication or 10 top people, blah, 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 blah. That's an ad. And it's not saying it's good or bad. Like that might be a great option for your company and your brand. But just understand that there's owned and earned media, which is where you are exchanging your value, your expertise, your credentials. There's my dog, to share that on another platform. Okay. So that's important. And owned media, I think of this as like your own social channel. So your website, your social media, this is where you hold the megaphone to your message. And that's important too. So just kind of getting an understanding of what all these things are is going to be helpful to understand what is going to make sense for your company. Because at the end of the day, we all have different goals for a company. We all have different timelines for things, and it's always unique. And that is one thing that's really important about the way that Lydia and I work with companies. And by the way, if you are interested in anything that we do, head over to our website, visibilityontpurpose.com. We have a bunch of free resources in addition to this YouTube channel and our podcast, as well as a whole entire DIY PR course that we've had a number of brands go through, from wellness practitioners to podcast hosts to, local companies as well. So head over there if you'd like to learn more. Now, how does the media work? This is important. Media outlets produce, write, and publish content with their audiences in mind. And you can think of it like this. We have a journalist at Cosmo, and that journalist is tasked with writing content on a certain topic. And they actually need experts. They need experts like you to produce the best content for their audience. And this is why PR doesn't come off as salesy. And Lydia always says it's like selling without selling, because you're able to share valuable knowledge and insights and stuff like that without being like, buy my product. And it's just like a podcast, right? When you're listening to this show, I'm not like trying to sell you every single second. I'm trying to provide value so that you can see, okay, maybe PR is something I do want to implement in my brand. Maybe that's my 2025 goal. I want to get on more podcasts. And we actually just had a client who's like, hey, I was on one podcast. I got clients directly from that. I want to know how to do this for myself. I want to keep doing more of that. Let's shift his little head around. I swear him and I like conduct heat. If you're listening to this, I am head over to YouTube so you can see what this looks like. But yeah, it's a synergistic relationship. So that writer at Cosmo actually needs your expertise just as much as you need them. It's truly a win-win, because they need to produce the content, they need to write the article, but they might not be the best one to talk about that thing. Like if you're a nutritionist or a psychotherapist, the writers at media outlets, or you have a TV anchor, they might not be a psychotherapist, but they have to actually produce content, or write, film, record an episode or a show or a segment on a specific topic, and that's where they need you. And I always use the example of COVID. Like during COVID, there were lots of endocrinologists, I think that's what it's called, and infectious disease doctors coming on TV. That was PR for that person, that doctor, right? Because it got their name out there on another platform, and likely they didn't pay for it, although you will sometimes see that. Now, all of this content is focused on what's timely, relevant, and newsworthy. So this is where you get to be really, really creative with your brand and company with PR. Get your little nose out of there. Okay, there we go. They focus on timely, relevant, and newsworthy content. So we're not just saying like, interview me. It's like, hey, have you thought about this? And this is where we get to be creative. We get to say, hey, what's going on in the world right now? How can I add my voice and be a valuable voice in the conversation that's already happening? And I think social media is a really great place to actually see what's going on, because you see what people are talking about. Like you see what's trending. It's kind of fun when you try to figure out, yeah, how can my voice play a role? How can my expertise help X, Y, and Z out? And this is how I personally gotten featured in Yoga Journal, Delish Magazine, talking about food, nutrition, and yoga, because those are things that are interesting to me. And now we live in a time where that type of content is being produced more and more, which is, so cool for so many reasons. And I was just able to leverage that and highlight that and say, hey, like, I talk about this. I'd love to talk to you. Now, we'll see if this one works, but during my pregnancy, I actually listened to a number of podcasts talking about birth stories. I knew I wanted to have like an unmedicated physiological birth at a birthing center, and I'm so grateful. I'm blessed that I did have that experience. And I would listen to so many birth story podcasts just to like hear the process of labor. And this story does have an end and it comes somewhere. I'm keep continuing to go here. So I reached out to, I've been following the podcast host for a really long time, and it's a pretty like decent show. I've looked up some of the back end stats because we have some of those platforms, and feel free to check the link in the description of the video. I'm sure we have some of our platforms that we love, know, and trust listed below, and we are affiliates with some of them. So if you click link, we might get paid, which is cool too. So I looked up the podcast and I reached out to her and I said, hey, like if you ever need another first time mom birthing center story of someone who's an entrepreneur, and just how that like identity shift has gone, I'd love to be interviewed. And she was like, yeah, let me reach out to my assistant. So we'll see, fingers crossed, but I'd love to be on that podcast. And that's the point of that story is that I wasn't just saying interview me. I was saying, hey, like here's a topic we could talk about. This is my experience. This actually could be valuable for your audience. Let's chat. Okay, so I want you guys to think about one PR and visibility goal. Just like what is one thing that you're focusing on this year, this quarter? What is that for you? Because your goal always dictates how you move forward. Now, what's important to know is how some of these mediums and platforms work. Because if you're new to all of this and you've just been doing socials or ads for a long time, you're like, wait, what is she talking about? So when we talk about TV mainly puts out timely, relevant, newsworthy, event-based topics. And you can see that, right? We have the morning news, and there are other different segments on the TV throughout the day, but it's mostly focused on like events that are going on in the world and how they can have a conversation around that. So around the holidays, you're always going to see like the chefs or the nutritionists come on talking about, ways to cook for your family that are a little bit easier this year. So we're always thinking about, yeah, what's happening in the world and how can we be valuable in that conversation? Now, editorial, so we're thinking like magazines there. That's a mixture of less timely but more evergreen topics because you might have, okay, we can use Cosmo or women's health or men's health or psychology today. Like those topics are usually topics that kind of span the test of time. It's not just about what's going on right now, but it also has some of those timely topics. And it also might be some like niche ideas and concepts and just relevant things that are being talked about. Now, podcasts, our favorite. If you have not been on a podcast, I just invite you and challenge you this year to put yourself out there. It's really so much fun. I have a podcast and a company with my dad and my sister called The Financial Dad. And one of the things that I did before he came was get my dad on some podcasts. And my dad has never been on, well, he'd been on a couple podcasts, but he texted me after and was like, Bridget, that was so much fun. I was like, yeah, you're just sharing. You're just sharing. And that's what's important. You're sharing about topics that you probably already love. Like me coming on here today, I'm, only like 6 weeks postpartum, but I was like, I want to talk about this. This is fun for me. It's exciting. I want to talk about cooking. I want to talk about PR. I want to talk about just like things that matter to me. And podcasts are that for you as well. So they're also really good for founder-facing brands as well as just brands in general. Like Lydia has talked about so many times that she has listened to a podcast with a like cosmetic company founder who's not like buy the cosmetics. They're more of just like, here's the story of the why behind it. And she ends up buying the product. So we tend to see that podcasts result really, really well in sales. But as a reminder, PR is not directly for the purpose of sales. It's really for brand awareness and brand growth, which ultimately compounds into sales if you're doing it the right way, right? And then we have stages, workshops, conferences. So I just encourage you to like pick one. Pick one thing today. Is it TV? Is it podcast? Is it editorial? Do you want to be on a stage? Do you want to like host a workshop locally? Do you want to speak at a conference? Like, what is it for you? And every season has a different goal, right? My goal right now looks very, very different than it did months ago. So my focus is a little different. Yours might be too. So here we're thinking about what is your expertise? What is your background? What are your differentiators? What's your cool story? I was talking to a woman from New Jersey and she was sharing about how she started this, I think it's called the New Jersey like yoga movement or something like that. And she just has a cool story behind why she started it, which has allowed her to get some press for that story. So you might have a really cool story and you can lean on that. Now, what are some other things that you can be thinking about? And this is to generate ideas for you. Do you have a methodology or a very specific system that you use with clients? Like, what are those steps? Start to pull those out of yourself. And we have all of this inside our DIY course. So if you want to just like jump on that and have something to pull it out of you, I'm a person who needs to be prompted, or else I'm like, I don't know where to even start. Do you have a very specific mission, such as sustainability, eco-consciousness, like a socially responsible company? You can lean on that. And this is all about highlighting your differentiators. And there are differentiators between every single company, whether it is the quality, whether it's your cost, whether it is your social initiative. There are, whether it's like the ingredients in your product or your methodology. Really, really lean into what that is for you. And as we always say with our clients, you never want your brand to be able to be replaced by someone else's because it's just so like laissez-faire the way that you're talking about it. We never want an intro to your company to have been able to be said by someone else. It should always be unique to your brand. And that's what good brands do. They differentiate themselves. Do you do something not a lot of people know about, but should, like PR? So we always lean on that. We've been interviewed on so many podcasts talking about PR, which is so fun. Oh, we have some baby noises today. Do you have a product that would be beneficial for like holiday gift guides or upcoming special days? So inside the program, we have an entire like special days link to calendars that you can utilize. Because think about it, we have Valentine's Day, we have St. Patrick's Day, we have 4th of July. If you're Canadian, there's like Boxing Day, Halloween. All of these can actually be leaned on. Women's History Month, Black History Month, like there's a lot. What are top trending relevant stories or calendar days where you could infuse your background or credentials? So just think creatively. And this is where like having something to prompt you can be extremely helpful. And if you're not over on YouTube, I do recommend that you come here so you can see some of the things that we're talking about. Okay, now who do you contact, right? So you want to contact a TV anchor for TV, an editor at a magazine, freelancer staff writer, podcast host, conference organizer, TEDx organizer. You want to do some research. So we love, obviously just using Google, but we love Quoted. If you go to the link in the description of the video, we have a link to go on to Quoted. So you can sign up for free. Podseeker, great way to look up podcast stats, get emails, Mondo Times to get contact info for TV companies. And then you're going to pitch, apply, or respond to an inbound inquiry. And if you're like, what is she talking about? Definitely check out a little bit more of what we have inside the program because that's where we go into how this is done. I wanted to take today to talk about like what this is and how to start to put yourself on the map, thinking strategically and creatively. But there are some like step-by-step things that go deeper inside of the program. Now, screenshot this. This is a little sneak peek. So a lot of times our clients are like, yeah, Bridget, yeah, Lydia, but I don't actually read the news or whatever they say, read the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news. I don't read magazines. No worries. Like, that's okay. Here are some publications that you can think about for yourself. There are always different sections at these magazines, so figure out what is right for you. If you are a like male chiropractor, Men's Health, Ask Men, Fatherly. There's so much. There's so much. If you are a esthetician, we want to look at Elle, Marie Claire, like Birdie, Glamour, all of that. TV stations. So there is a site called Mondo Times, and I like to look at location based. But if you're potentially could go in person, like that is always the best, I would think. But you want to do your research with TV anchors and reporters. You want to figure out what are they talking about? Would they actually want to have this conversation? And we have so many episodes on the podcast interviewing TV anchors and reporters, and I highly, highly recommend you scroll through, our podcast or the YouTube channel. It has the same content, mostly, and listen to what they're saying because they're not going to answer you if you like reach out and they basically talk about the weather. It's not going to be a good fit, right? Now, the biggest takeaway here is dream big and start small. Whenever you have a goal, it's important to set your sights on something, right? Have a direction. Where are you going? And ask for guidance. Like, I don't know, say a prayer if you don't know what that is yet. Ask for the guidance. But we always want to just like start with small steps. What is within our control? What can I do today that's going to help? Where can I move the needle forward? And it doesn't need to be the biggest thing. So maybe today you're just thinking about, okay, organizing the assets of your business, right? So headshots, and we have all of this inside the DIY PR course as well. But your assets, your headshots, like a brand bio, a summary, just everything in one place. That's a great place to start. Highly recommend that. Now, what you want to think about from there is just doing those small things every single day. My next takeaway is we want to start with that outbound reach out. So like you're going to be pitching or sending an email yourself And that usually starts to lead to inbound inquiries, right? Because you're going to start to put your business on the map and it becomes a snowball effect. But it does take time. We recommend only, oh, there he is. Hello, buddy. Oh, we recommend 1 to 2 hours a week, and you will see results if you can do that. Just 1 to 2 hours a week. Be really focused, set a timer, like just get into it. Be creative, have fun. It gets to be really fun. I actually love doing this work. I think it's fantastic. Not only have I done it for myself for years, I've done it for my dad and we've done it for clients. Lydia has an agency where she does this, so it gets to be fun. And just take that first step. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to this today. I know it's a different episode. I hope that you liked the baby cooing noises in the background. And if you have questions or thoughts or concerns, reach out to us on Instagram, Visibility on Purpose. Yeah, we're really grateful just like for our community. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening. Tell us that you listened to the episodes. Like that actually warms my heart the most. And just thank you so much for being here today and listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast.